Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Growth Frequency podcast. I'm Laura, and today's episode features Alina Addison, founder of Adaptaa, where she helps organizations navigate change, strengthen leadership capability, and build more adaptable cultures. We will explore what has been shifting in consulting, where growth gets stuck, and how firms can scale with clarity rather than complexity. Hi, Alina.
Hi, Laura. Nice to be here with you on a very cold winter morning, as we were saying, with everybody having a flu and not feeling great, but it's lovely to be with you.
Yeah, we're still here. We're still standing.
We are.
Alina, could you tell us a bit about you, about your background, and the work you do at Adapta?
Sure. So I'm Alina Addison, an expert in audacious leadership and emotional intelligence. And I'm also the author of a book called The Audacity Spectrum. So I founded Adaptaa. I'm celebrating 10 years this year. It's an executive coaching and leadership development company. Serve financial services firms, mainly or global, but I'm based in London. So a lot of them have got headquarters here, some of them in Asia, some of them in the US, but generally speaking, London. And yeah, we sort of take leaders on this path of courage, care, nonconformity, which is my definition of audacity, effectively.
And what is your background? How did you end up doing the work that you do right now?
So, well, okay, that's a good question. You already asked that. So, and what most people know about me, I suppose, and I really apologize for this cough, but I am an ex-investment banker. So, I started in the financial services industry in London with PwC as an accountant, and then I went on and I became a managing director for Rothschild. I was the head of trading and execution when I left. So that's my background, which is why we ended up serving, again, financial services industry because of that expertise. Probably my biggest claim to fame, Laura, is I also in that time built a boutique hotel in Transylvania, overseeing Dracula Castle, is where I now take a lot of these leaders to audacious leaders retreats every year. And I'm originally from Romania. So that's sort of my background. I came and I went to university in Bucharest, and I went to university here in the UK, and then I got married. I've got children, and I made a life here. I lived in the UK now longer than I lived in Romania. So, and someone said to me, when you start dreaming in a different language, that is your language.
That's a wonderful story. Thank you for sharing that. What types of challenges do clients typically come to you with when they first engage with you?
So, as I said, sort of because I'm sort of an expert in emotional intelligence, all of my clients are incredibly smart. They've already, so in the corporate industries, probably most of 80% of the clients that I work with will be in a corporate setting. Some of them will be entrepreneurs and CEOs and C-suites. But the majority will be in that space. So they will be at the senior level, and there will be challenges of working with teams, working with people. It really is what people used to call soft skills, the EQ piece, which are not soft. I always sort of have a resistance to this word. They are really hard skills to master. So that will be is how do you communicate with conviction, with courage, when there is a conflict in a team dynamic? How do you navigate the corporate politics of places like this? How do you change, or how do you deal with uncertainty, which is everyday certainty of life in the last few years? So will be probably the sort of typical things that clients will come to explore with us in terms of, getting on this path of self-control is one of the other things in terms of just being able to stay calm under a lot of this pressure, the pressure cooker. There's a lot of intensity in this environment.
Mm.
And it's how do you, I'm just reluctant to use the word manage, but, leading in those type of environments in a way that is graceful, in a way that is, more conscious, in a way that is impactful.
Where do you personally spend most of your time these days? Are you doing client delivery, leadership work, business development, or shaping new offerings?
For me, I spend most of my time probably strategizing, still delivering. So yes, but not, I mean, I've got a team who also delivers with me and for me. But so I do client delivery. Some of the products that we have will be one-to-one team coaching. So we will spend time with the team, and that usually tends, it's a longer assignment of 12 to 18 months, because you've got the dynamics of the team. So we will work with the team as a whole, we'll work with the individuals in the team, and obviously the leadership team. The other thing that we also do leadership development programs. So what I mean, some of these big institutions, we've currently have two cohorts, as I call it, for two big first tier investment banks that you will recognize, and we are taking women. So we work with women. That's the other sort of big project that we do over a 6 to 9 months. So there are cohorts of 15 to 21 women going on a leadership journey. Again, and with women, there is some specific topics that we tend to work on. One would be managing conflict. Another one will be personal brand, for example, straightforwardness, having a sit at a table in a man's world. So there will be some specific topics that we will take them, on presence is a big one. How do you, and of course, it's not just for women, but there is more work. It's more specific. It's self-advocacy. How do women advocate for themselves when they're still in a minority? And I know this is still a very sort of, at the moment, there's more of a controversial topic, because there is a lot of places now which are gender neutral. So they don't do just work with women, or it's more mixed. And I'm a big advocate for that. And there are different issues that women will face. So we are still, despite of everything that's going in the world, we're still doing quite a lot of that work with
Mhm.
women. And then the other big thing, the sexiest of my projects, is what I call is the retreats, which I mentioned, taking leaders, and that's mixed, to on top of the mountain, and taking them for an intensive, it's usually 3 4 days, maybe a week of leadership and deep work in Transylvania.
Do you still own the hotel?
Yes.
Is it still
Yeah.
yours?
Yeah, it's still mine. It's a sort of family business. It's now it's my sister and I. But yes, I mean, for me, it's more of a remote. As I said, I do this, twice or a few times a year. But she is there, physically there.
So nice. From your vantage point,
Hmm.
what's one major shift you're seeing in how organizations approach change and leadership development today?
And I think, I mean, I know you are the expert in AI, so that's definitely one of the biggest things that's disrupting the world. And obviously, it's disrupting the world of work, of corporates, of any place. So that's the big thing. There is a big focus on that. For us, it's interesting. It's because we're very much working with the human side, and that's what we are offering. We are staying and working with the AI as much as we possibly can to make it more efficient, to maximize that efficiency of what we do. And yet, for me, if someone would ask me, I still very much advocate for in person, human to human. That's why I want to take people away on the top of the mountain where they have no access to technology, if I had my way, so they can really reconnect with themselves and who they are at their core. But I would say, yeah, AI is probably the biggest disruptor right now in the work that we are seeing.
Yeah, and I think that people are a bit confused.
Mm.
With AI, there are new tools coming up every day. You feel like you should do something, like you are expected to use AI to spend less time doing some tasks. But then it's like overwhelming to like, where do I begin? And what's really useful and what's not. I've also heard about and seen many different tools that when I start to look at them, they're not as perfect as they're being advertised yet. I mean, the things are constantly evolving. So within the next 6 months, the tools will be much better. But Yeah, people are overwhelmed with it, definitely. And if you put that on top of other issues that large corporations have, then, like you said, it's like a pressure cooker, definitely.
Yeah, and there are too many of them, actually, Laura. That's interesting. These tools, and I think they move so very fast that you think you've mastered one, and then it's obsolete. And then there is a lot of tiredness in the system, as much as to how do you keep up with all of the
Mhm.
changes, and what's good, what's bad, what will work, what will not. Yeah, I mean, it's exciting and it's frightening, as always with these things. You have to accept both sides of the.
Yeah. One good piece of advice about all the AI
Mhm,
tools and all
mhm.
the possibilities that are out there is that if we take a look at our calendar or our task lists or our diaries, and we start to think about what should we automate, or is there something that I really don't want to do, or is there something that could be done with technology, and then start your research from there. Because if we start to use technology or the tools just for the sake of using them, then we won't like fix our issues. But if you look at the issue, the problem first, and then find a solution, thanks to AI, most people, yeah, most employees, they don't need 10 different tools. You can start with one. And it's the same thing with automation in like smaller businesses. When the automation became trendy, then everyone thought that they need to automate everything. And once you start to try to do that, then what happens is that it will come crashing down, because if one step is wrong or not done correctly, then nothing is working. So it's always good to take your time and to master one process and then move on from there. So, yeah. Um, do you feel that the clients of yours are becoming more proactive about transformation now, or are they becoming more reactive as the pressure increases?
And when you say transformation, what do you mean?
Changes inside of the corporations, like changes inside the team. So if we try to transform something inside of the company.
Well, actually, I mean, it's a good question, Laura. I would say it depends. I mean, there are some of our clients who are very proactive, so they will really lead the way, and then they are very open to transformation, because I think transformation is at an individual level, and that's why I think, there are people who are coming to coaching, for example, to for transformation, because we always say it's either it can be transactional, of course, and then it's transformational. If you put in the effort and the energy, it will become transformational. And then it's at, of course, transformational at the team level and at an organizational level. And there will be some who are not. They are very reactive. So it's just the best practice is yeah, and will always, all roads will lead to leadership, because who is at the top and how are they embracing change? Because everybody sort of looks up there. And of course, some of the change is being done from down upwards, but most of it is really directed from the top. So they will guide, they will direct which way this transformation happens, and how fast they are in embracing AI, as an example, or some of them, when we were talking about the work with women, some of the organization is like they totally cut it out. And there are organizations who actually double down on it. And it's just interesting to see. We just don't know yet. I think yeah, I mean, part of me says we've done so much work, for example, with women, to then cut it out completely. But, well, time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. What is working particularly well for Adapta right now?
What is working particularly well for us? Well, I think it's the human dynamic. Again, it's having, I always say, as a founder, it's you have to surround yourself with, some people say, smarter people, smarter than you, or at least they fill the gaps, so you can be complementary in terms of what I offer and what the rest of them are offering. But for us, I think it's just staying really open to what's live right now and what's topical, and It's interesting. I think it's simplicity. You were talking about how easy it is to get overwhelmed with anything, with automation or so for us, it's almost going to what's the simplest way? What's the most easeful way? At the beginning of every year, I always have one word. I choose like what is this year going to be? So for me, 2025, I chose easeful. So not easy, because nothing in life is easy, but easeful, so more fluid. And again, you have to be ready for both sides of the equation. I always say. So if you want easefulness, you have to also be prepared for the hardship part. So yes, 2025 for me has been probably one of the most easeful and one of the most hard, or the hardest years. It's we are also reorganizing in terms of just to follow the not so much the trends, but really to stay live to what's happening and simplicity. I think everybody this year, I is my personal view, given how difficult the whole landscape, the political landscape in the world is, in the uncertainty, is that people are craving for simplicity. They're craving for, well, certainty. And interestingly, I use a quote a lot, and I don't know who to attribute it to, but the antidote to certainty, sorry, the antidote to uncertainty, which is what we're having right now, it's not certainty. The antidote to uncertainty is creativity. So I think this is just finding creative solutions, because we're not going to get certainty. So it's like, what is a creative solution to the problems that we're facing right now? And really using creativity more than any other time. So my word for 2026 is playfulness. So playing, creatively. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's what's working well.
Yeah, good. Where does the business feel more manual, fragmented, or time consuming than you would like?
Where does the business feel more manual, fragmented, or time consuming? Well, it is probably the sort of thing that I'm sure you will tell me, Alina, this is the sort of thing you could probably delegate to the AI and to the bots. That's probably where it does feel. But I still love the human part. And I know there is the optimal balance. But, the team, so we have our personal assistant, and she's been with us for a long time, and she's lovely, and she can answer the phone and she can speak to you, and, she's a human. So she does a lot of those manual tasks. Yeah, the sort of planning, the probably all of the writing, the reporting. I'm sure all of that can be a lot more delegated to the automation. And yet, I mean, a lot of the things interesting, what I'm hearing from my clients, I don't know about you, is that even the social media now, it is so AI driven that people have switched off. We actually seeing that people are not engaging, they're not reading, because they know that it's not been written by a human. And it just became so undistinguishable. There's no, and therefore, where maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, everybody said, just delegate this. I think now we're going back to just less is more and write it yourself. Despite of
Mhm.
the fact that it's faster, most of the time it does make sense, because they pick up some of the things you wouldn't think about, but then the nuances. So yeah, I'm very curious about how we're going to evolve. But that's what feels still. It's the part that, in theory, it feels it could be automated more.
Yeah, definitely. But this is the art of finding the right balance
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so it remains tasteful.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when someone is like prestigious in what they do, and if you have like long term connection with your clients, you're like a partner to them, then transformation or the change can be a bit scary or like it's risky.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if it starts to change? How intentional is your marketing right now? Do you have a clear system? Is it referral based, or like how do you do marketing for your services?
Is it intentional? Yes, would be the short answer. I have a marketing manager. So, within that sort of big team that I was telling you about. And then, we are fairly present and active on social media. LinkedIn is our platform of choice. I mean, we are present also on Instagram, but if you ask me, so we're there, we're present on Facebook, but the majority, where our audience is and where our business is, it's really targeted and intentionally for LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
Could we be more intentional? Yes, in that sense about our audiences. Is this referral? Yes, actually, that's the I know people are saying it's the longest term and it's the stickiest business. And my own coach, Rich Lidvin, who wrote the book, The Prosperous Coach. I mean, that's been his principle. His word of mouth is absolutely the best way. And of course, I know we're going back to automation but there is, when you have that human connection and that long-term relationship, people move. So all my clients would have been heads of various departments in one organization and they move to a different organization. They take us with them. So, whereas there's a lot of fear in the system of well, you're depending on X and you're depending on Y, and what happens when they go? What happened to us? It was a multiplier effect, because we still already have an incredible relationship with this organization. Then the individual leaves, we still have it, and then we gain another organization purely through referral and that person taking us with them. So I'm a big advocate of there is no substitute to the actual human relationship. And when we're saying the only problem that we have as humans is also the relationship. That's the biggest problem. Except, of course, there are bigger challenges like health. But except that, that's what most of us will struggle through in this lifetime. Is the relationships. That's why people need help with. Is how do they manage conflict? How do they maintain relationships? How do they? All of that will always boil down to this one thing. How do we master our own internal relationship with self, which is critical, and then the relationship with others?
Yeah, definitely. Because it's a relationship based business in a way. Coaching, consulting, like your clients have to like you. You have to like your clients enough to work with them. So, this part, I mean, I've seen younger coaches and consultants start their businesses with already implementing a lot of AI and tools so that their model is built in a way that not more is expected of them, like personally. So it is like semi automated or it's not so personal. But to do make the change, it is more difficult. And yeah, the main question is it necessary or is it trendy at the moment? So yeah.
Yeah. And your question was on systems. So we do have, we have a CRM system, because again, I will say to anybody who wants to scale,
Mhm.
again, the younger generation, as you said, of coaches, you could have the best system in the world. If you don't have the relationship, it's not going to be any use, because, your customer is a relationship customer. So you have to have both. And then once you've got lots of, I mean, we work with big. So once you have corporate relationships, because as I said, we're sort of, B2B, you must have a system. It's a lot about the compliance, and it's a lot about the, all of that, which is really important. So yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, we're using a new CRM. We invested in it last year. So in terms of upgrading for the next level, the next generation.
Do speaking engagements as well?
I do. I do, because especially on the back of my book, that I mentioned, the Audacity Spectrum. So, and then there is a framework in that book. There is an Audacity quiz, so anybody could go and do that. It's actually on my website, so you could find out which there are 8 A's. There is the star. There are 8 A's of Audacity, and you could, by doing the quiz, you could then find out which one of those A's is your superpower, and which one of those A's, maybe you just need to stretch it if you choose to. So there are 8 A's of, so there is attunement, there is acknowledgement, there is assertiveness, there is assurance, which is, the power to say yes, no. You have advocacy, which is a big one. I'm really passionate about that. Then you've got adaptability, you've got authenticity, and then you've got appreciation, which is the last one. So I can do a keynote on any of those 8 A's individually or, together. And yes, I've done that and I'm still doing that. I'm doing that
Mm.
for, a couple for the International Women's Days actually this year. So short answer to your question, yes.
Okay, my last question would be that when you look ahead,
Hmm.
it's January right now, at the beginning of the year. Where do you want your company and your work to be in 1 year? So in 12 months, where would you like to be with it all?
We have a really healthy pipeline. So I sort of already almost know where we're going to finish this year because we are doing a few big leadership programs for investment banks. We're taking women, 21 women this year, and another group of 15. Some of these keynotes that you already mentioned, our retreats. So I would want to, for us is to continue to really serve our clients in a very powerful, impactful way, to have, 2 retreats a year that we already have, team coaching, taking some teams on a, journey where they really, it's about improving their high performance. Most, if not all, but I would say most, the teams that we work are high performing, but it's taking them to the next level where it's, everybody gels and the dynamic in the team just makes it possible for them to go to the next level up. So it's a combination of those, and actually probably the team feeling very integrated, very aligned. That will be my wish. So you and I will meet in a year time from today, next year in January 27, and then we would have had some of those wonderful assignments that, as I said, they're already in the pipeline, and maybe some that we haven't yet. Because always nice when something comes completely out of the blue, and then we can look back and celebrate. But yeah, and maybe
Yeah.
the team actually for me, because we have a team of collaborators, and it's probably, I mentioned my website, but my website, it's one of the big projects this year for me. So maybe you've got some ideas how do you automate that piece, because it's still a manual, when you care a lot. So for
Hmm.
me, even my book is about courage, care, and non-conformity. So I care a lot about this. Some people say perfectionist and stickler, Alina, but I do have a team of collaborators which you don't see yet on the website. So that would so that's probably a big project. Again, is like, next time you and I meet, that will be visible. You know who they are and some of the wonderful work that we have done, rather than, we have brochures and people know we do. We share it in a different way, but we haven't yet put it onto the website.
Okay. The word for this year was playful, right? So I wish you a playful year with your work. And thank you for such a wonderful episode. I hope everyone enjoyed it as well. I did. Yeah, Alina, thank you for coming. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. I would love to challenge you with love, Laura. If you had to pick a word for 2026, what would your word be?
My word is family.
Hmm.
So to keep a better balance between my children, my relationship, and my work. So I think as women, this is a topic that keeps coming up with mothers because it's almost impossible to have the ideal balance, but we can try. So this is my word.
I love that. And it's interesting we started with that, we're finishing with that, Laura, because it's, that's what I say when people, there's so many out there just argue there is no difference, and it's a meritocracy, which is true. And there is a big difference because the mothers have to care, especially when their children are young, and balancing that, the balancing act, it's a really, really difficult act. There is no balance. And so you just juggle it all in a way that works for you. So your word is family. My wish is that will be wonderful and aligned, and then you manage to, yeah, spend time with them as well as your business.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and hope you feel better, the children will feel better, and then you and I can celebrate in 12 months time.